Hello, welcome back to Real Opinions. I am here on my own in a completely different place now because the studio is gone. Season 1 is over. It is summer, the gang have disbanded, but we are still attempting to bring tidbits of reviews your way, especially for huge, giant, mega blockbusters such as this, which is Jurassic World, which was Harrison's most anticipated film of the year, but he was on holiday when it was released, so we all had to go off and see it on our own, and I guess I was the first one that got to it. So here is my review of Jurassic World under the Real Opinions banner. Jurassic World is the fourth film in the Jurassic Park franchise thing, following Spielberg's two and then Joe Johnston's one. We did the recap video. Well, Jack and Harrison did the recap video that you can go watch now. This is kind of the first Jurassic Park film in about 10 years, directed by Colin Trevorrow, who up to this point had only made Safety Not Guaranteed, which is a very good film, but a very, very small film. And Jurassic World kind of takes the whole franchise in a completely different direction, ditching all of the old characters, Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum and Rich Attenborough and all that lot, and kind of goes its own way, which is refreshing. The plot itself, however, leans back on the older films quite significantly. Jurassic World sees the opening of Jurassic World, which is the fully realised theme park version of the original Jurassic Park that John Hammond originally tried to create and failed. But Jurassic World is fully open, operational. Tens of thousands of visitors are visiting every day. There's rides, there's interactive exhibits. It's kind of John Hammond's dream realised in an actual theme park. Then the actual plot kicks into play when we follow lead character Claire, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. You may have seen her in the trailers, etc. When her two nephews come to spend some time with her at the park, she gives them VIP wristbands, but she is too busy working to look after them, so she sends them off with her personal assistant, while she goes off to try and sell sponsorship for the park's new attraction, because the park's been open for quite a while. The old dinosaurs aren't quite cutting it, and so the kind of Jurassic World shareholders have decided to create a new dinosaur by splicing together the DNA of several different dinosaurs and animals, etc., to create the Indominus Rex, which is this thing that they don't quite realise what it is yet. Then, of course, the shit hits the fan. Claire's nephews roam off freely on their own and get lost in the park. The Indominus Rex escapes its enclosure, and the only person left to call is a raptor wrangler and kind of dinosaur extraordinaire called Owen Grady, played by the great Chris Pratt. Together they kind of run off trying to save her nephews and then trying to stop the Indominus Rex from killing tens of thousands of people, and madness ensues. So in terms of the actual verdict of the film, obviously it's never going to be better than Spielberg's original Jurassic Park, because that's like one of the most defining films of its era. But I'm certainly thinking that this is probably the best sequel there has been to a Jurassic Park film. It's a completely fresh idea. It didn't try and kind of rejig some of the old footsteps. There's callbacks to the first one, especially in the first 20 minutes, half an hour of the film, which I could see getting a little bit tired after a while, but luckily at that point they tend to stop. But the main point of this film is it's kind of moving into a new Jurassic universe. It's kind of opening up the whole franchise in a completely different way, breathing new life into it. And although there are callbacks and Easter eggs for fans of the originals, it doesn't feel like you have to have seen the originals to enjoy this film to its true potential. I think a large part of what makes this film so successful as a sequel is the fact that it doesn't just drag in the old characters for the sake of having them there. It tries to kind of grow their own and kind of that they can advance with. Bryce Dallas Howard is actually insanely good as Claire. Some of the trailers may put me off a little bit. She seemed a little bit annoying, but she really grows into the role as the film progresses. The kids are never annoying, which was so great. Kids can very easily be the death of a film. If you have a couple of annoying child actors at the front, it can be very, very infuriating and difficult to look beyond. But these two are, I mean, they're never exceptional, but they're never particularly poor either. They kind of hit their marks really well. But I think kind of the real defining character of the film, and the one that a lot of people are going to be talking about, is Chris Pratt's Owen Grady. He isn't just kind of a new Sam Neill. He isn't just a kind of Indiana Jones type. He has his own kind of combination of quirks and characteristics. He's not Star-Lord. He's not just kind of this comic stooge that just happens to get by on the luck of the universe. He is much more. He's a much more of a kind of straight soldier type, but at the same time, he has a heart of gold. You really buy into the whole raptor wrangling element of the film, which I know a lot of people were quite kind of iffy about when the first trailers were released, but he really sells that really well. He is still funny. I mean, he's not Star-Lord levels of funny, but he is still funny. And he's very easy to get behind as an action hero as well. He's very likable. Characters aside, there's obviously going to be problems with this film. It's not directed by Steven Spielberg, who, when he made the first one, had made like amazing films for 20 years and had all this experience. This is made by a guy who's only made one other film, and it was a kind of indie Sundance hit. This is a $200 million mega blockbuster with tons of effect shots and a whole kind of thousands and thousands of fans that they're trying to please, as well as an entire audience of new fans that they're trying to gather. So there's always going to be teething problems there. But for the most part, Jurassic World kind of lands, which is quite impressive. I mean, the first half an hour is quite hit and miss. Some elements don't quite work as well as they should. The introduction is a little bit slow, but when Chris Pratt turns up, things really kind of kick things into overgear. And when the Indominus Rex escapes and the film actually has a villain, the tension really starts to mount quite well. And it's a lot of the time, this film really surprised me. Based on the trailers alone, I did feel a little bit nervous about certain elements of this film and how they were going to land. But for the most part, Colin Trevorrow actually has done a really, really great job. If I sound surprised, it's more just because the sense of wonder that the first film brought was really kind of what landed it and really what kind of spurred on the whole franchise. And I think why the sequels didn't really quite kind of land as well as the first one did. Whereas this film seems to kind of replicate that quite well. I mean, it doesn't get there, it doesn't go all the way, it doesn't kind of land it completely. But what it does do is make a very good go at mimicking it. And for the most part, there are sequences in this film where I was just sat there wide-eyed, particularly the film's finale. I'm not going to throw in any spoilers because it was a complete surprise to me, and it did kind of completely throw me sideways, and I adored it. But the finale to this film is incredible. Fans of the original film, fans of big monster movies like Godzilla, etc., will probably find the ending to this film really quite special. I know if Harrison was sat next to me right now, he would probably be squealing and kind of shaking his hands like this. Because at its heart, this is still a monster movie, and what they really get right in that sense is the Indominus Rex as the villain is very threatening. It's kind of, there's an element of surprise because they really don't know what this thing is made of, and it constantly surprises them throughout the film. You get a series of reveals rather than just a big one, which really works to keep the tension mounting as the film rolls on. And the Indominus Rex itself is just so friggin' cool. It adds this genuine sense of peril. You really feel like characters could be picked off at any moment. Because this film actually has the highest body count, I think, of any Jurassic Park film to date. Quite possibly. Obviously, when the first trailers were released, I was very, very excited. Especially to see new dinosaurs, Jurassic World open, Chris Pratt in the mix. It was a really kind of incredible setup. Having said that, a lot of the effect shots in the trailers put me off. Some of the dialogue seemed very cheesy and out of place. There were some serious red flags, but having seen the finished film, pretty much all of those red flags were mopped up really, really well. And everything came together in a really quite special way. And although obviously it's not a perfect film, it's not really in the same league as the first one, it's still ridiculously entertaining. Gave me the same sense of wonder I achieved the first couple of times I saw the first one, and still to this day, I guess, when I watched the first one. Ultimately, I'm going to give Jurassic World an 8 out of 10. It could have been far, far worse than it is. I was very, very worried that this was just going to be a complete misfire. But for the most part, it holds up the traditions of Spielberg's original while still paving the way for an entirely new franchise as well. It's a pretty special and incredibly well made and thoughtfully made film as well. That is Jurassic World. Hopefully, we will have more of these kind of individual reviews coming soon. You never know, we might even be able to team up. But we'll see. Thank you for sticking with Real Opinions over the summer period. We will be back with Season 2 in September, October time, so look out for that. And in the meantime, have a wonderful summer and go see Jurassic World as many times as you physically can if you're a Jurassic Park fan. Otherwise, go see it at least once. It will wow the pants